Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda Cities ABC series. We are a fast-growing YouTube podcast thought leadership channel focused on profiling the global leading inspiring people, CEOs, authors, technologists, academists, and global experts changing and creating solutions for our world. We highlight the ideas, products, inventions, software, platforms, books, and solutions to the multiple challenges and opportunities we face today in our cities, nations, with the advent of the so-called Society 5.0, Digital Transformation 360, and Fourth Industrial Revolution. And especially, of course, all the emergent technologies that are key for our times, and as well that sometimes make people scared. That is the artificial intelligence, blockchain, Fintech, IoT, and all the other ones. This podcast series are produced and distributed on Cities ABC and openbusinesscouncil.org and syndicated in our other media platforms, intelligenthq.com, fashionabc.org, edgethink.com, and tradersdna.com. This series are distributed part of the efforts we've been doing to create a platform that reflects and creates more awareness for the challenge we're facing, but how to cope with these challenges. So, and of course, it's distributed through all the global podcasts that we have from Spotify to SoundCloud and Apple's and Google's and so forth. Today, I welcome to our series Anuj Khanna, and it's a pleasure to have him here. And I'm quite excited about this interview because Anuj is an expert in the areas of SMEs and funding, and as well business development, all the areas of this. And he's the CEO of founder of CashKind.com. So CashKind.com is a business loan marketplace, and that is solving the problems of all the business around the world, but especially starting in the UK, and as well finding finance easily through available platforms and available solutions. And this is quite precious in our business world because as we're getting increasing more digital, this is a challenge we are all facing. So Anuj is a highly experienced business development professional, expert in corporate expansion, finance, marketing, and product development, with over 20 years experience in working with fast-growing technology brands, including at Marvel, Arc, Bravo, Motors, Badu, Bangu, Boku, Buongiorno, Dialog Communications, EVShare, and a lot of others. And he has as well an experience that brings him both working with startups, fast-growing technology companies, and as well financial regulated organizations. So welcome to our series, Anuj. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks for the kind introduction.
No, my pleasure. So I'm particularly excited because you are touching one area that is massive, and we're talking about, so at the moment, if you look at global SMEs and micro SMEs, we're talking about 420 million companies and organizations around the world. Right. From these, most of them are small families, and these are the world economy. Let's put it very clear. Because of course, if you look at the Apples and all of them, they are just the tipping iceberg. But these ones are the real ones employing and creating value. And as well with COVID, this is a big thing. And as well more important than ever. So I would like to go about CashKind and as well all the things you're trying to solve and as well what has been the inception of CashKind, but as well starting with your overview about your education, your background. You have both digital and financial background and as well UK and Indian background, which is I think interesting as well to show the different directions. So a bit of your history.
Sure, thanks Dinis. So I'm Anuj Khanna. I'm the founder of CashKind, as per Dinis's kind introduction. So we built a business loans marketplace. We'll talk more about the business, but I'll just start giving you a little bit of a background to myself. So I've been in tech for the last 20 years, mainly focusing on telecommunications, digital payments, mobile, digital advertising. And I work with various brands. I'm originally from India. I started my career there with a company called Hutchison Telecom, which is a Hong Kong-based company. Now the same company has been taken over by Vodafone. And I moved to the UK in 1999 to do my MBA at the University of Sheffield. And I would say since the last 20 years, I've been working with various tech brands in business development, product management, and marketing roles. And one of the reasons why I've got involved in the SME and the business finance area is, my experience over the last 20 to 30 years working with SMEs is there is a huge gap in the financing requirements of SMEs and what's available for them in the market through banks, through VCs, through crowdfunding platforms. So if you speak to any CEO or founder or small business owner, I think the number one priority is to get the finance to grow their business, but they don't really know how to. And we are trying to solve this problem. I'm sure I can expand a bit more about it. Thanks.
How did you came with the idea of creating CashKind, and what's the base? Because I think it's a fantastic platform. It's still in its inception, but I'm sure that it's going to be quite big, given everything happening on this area in this market that needs really platforms like yours.
I've been, as I mentioned, I've been working with SMEs for many years. And when I say SMEs, it doesn't really mean a very small business doing 100,000 revenue, but any company even doing 50 million revenue could be classified as an SME. And 99% of the employers around the world, you can take the European Union, 99% of the companies which exist in, or high 90% are SMEs. So what I realized working with all these different companies, whether they were in the tech sector or in the brick and mortar sector or in the online sector, is that they have a huge problem in terms of accessing finance. We're not just talking about equity funding, which is obviously more time consuming, going to VCs and private equity funds to get the funds. And it's a totally different ballgame, but even like a day-to-day cash flow issues, working capital, this has become a problem for small to medium enterprises. And they always start with their bank. They go to their business bank. They're unable to get a loan many times, maybe the high 70 to 80% of the time. And then they start a journey where they go from bank to bank, from alternative finance provider to provider. And they might give up after going to 2 or 3 different sources of finance, or they might have to go to and fill in the same repetitive business loan application form, go through the same documentation several times before getting a loan. So I saw that as a huge problem for my own companies where I've worked in the past. I see it as a problem for almost every SME I'm meeting. And I'm saying, why is nobody really solving this problem? Every bank advertises that, oh, we are here for business. We support small business. Every government says that we are here. We support small business. But what actually happens is when the SME looks for finance, there's no one source where you can go make one application and get proposals from multiple banks and lenders. So I thought that I would focus on solving this issue. I don't say that I have solved it completely, but we've tried to make a marketplace where a customer can come in and fill in some easy application forms, business loan application forms. We get their details from the company's house and the credit agencies. We get the bank statements through open banking. We go through a process one time for the loan application so that the client doesn't have to keep doing this again and again. They make one application and then it's our job to find multiple lenders and narrow them down to the best bank who will offer them a loan. So I think that's about it. As in, it's a complex issue. There's lack of automation in the traditional banking sector. Most of them don't really have online APIs. They don't have even online, proper kind of assessment, risk assessment platforms. They have diverse range of different systems within their organizations. So, it's quite a complex area, and we thought that let's start solving problems right from the onboarding of a customer applying for a loan to actually processing the loan, to the disbursement, and there are different areas in application modules we built to do that.
This can make a big difference for all the SMEs because, for instance, just in the UK alone, we're talking about close to 6 million SMEs, which represents most of the PIB of the UK. And this is actually a global trend. But I think the problem with SMEs is, like you mentioned, is the lack of financial education. And even people like me and you just mentioned that are quite savvy with masters and international backgrounds and so forth. We still fail one thing is as industry experts or with our areas of expertise. The other thing is our own companies. And I think sometimes knowing that are all these things that are actually available, for instance, like all these loans available right now in the UK and a lot of other countries that are putting this together, but sometimes only a few parts. For instance, in the US, there were 30 to 40 million people that got unemployed. A lot of money came, but normally they go for a few companies that know how to do it. And the same goes even not just loans, but as well all the research and development grants. For instance, that is something that, for instance, in my case, with my company, that one of them is 9 years old, we only managed to get to know how to work the research and development after 8 years. And this makes a big difference, because it can make the difference between a company go and grow quite substantial and create a big business or a big product or a big thing, or just go bankrupt. And it can actually help as well, saving a lot of lives and a lot of things. And I think I like a lot the Chinese proverb, don't give a fish, tell him how to fish. So, and I think it's great about your platform. So can you tell us how your platform works for people listening to us? Of course, we have a lot of different people, but I think everyone somehow knows that this is key. And I think a lot of people are finding afraid of these things. So it's very important to take the fear out and look at the facts.
The financial system was created historically by the SMEs, the small business owners, the families who run the businesses. But the financial system which exists currently is not for the SMEs. So it's more like a lip service where a big bank says, oh, we support business and we want to offer loans to SMEs, but they make it very difficult for them to access it. So the way our platform works is we have partnerships with multiple banks. These could be high street banks like our HSBCs and Barclays, and then also so-called alternative financial service providers. I can give you examples like Funding Circle, iVoca, Market Finance, Just Cash Flow. And then there are industry-specific specialists, and then there are finance specialists who specialize in certain kinds of business finance. So it could be invoice finance, it could be construction finance, it could be short-term cash flow loans, it could be long-term loans, it could be large loans. So the business loans or the corporate debt market is big. So what we did is we tried to partner with as many banks and alternative providers as possible. We learn from them about their products and their risk assessment criteria, and we fill that information into our platform. So that's what we do on the back end. From a customer perspective, all they need to do is to come to our site and follow an easy 3-step process. It's just we get the basic personal contact details and the company details. And with that information, we are able to access a lot of the financial data from the company's database and the credit agencies. And also through open banking, we can get their bank statements. So once we have their loan requirements, how much they require, for what purpose and for how long, then based on that one application, we can research all the multiple banks and lenders which are there in our platforms. And the customer can instantly choose which are the banks they want to apply for a loan with. So I give you an example on the consumer lending side. We are like a moneysupermarket.com for business loans. So you come to cashkind.com, you enter your business loans requirement, you get the list of the 10 banks or the 5 banks who are most likely to lend to you as a business. And then you can select one or multiple lenders and make an application. And that's where the job of the customer ends. And then the rest of the processes, most of them are automated, where the loan application goes to the multiple providers, and then we coordinate with them to get a response back, whether they require additional document or whether they approve or reject a loan. So we make it easy. We don't charge anything to our customers for going through this process. So our business model is that we get a commission from the lender if there is a successful loan application. And if in case there is no success or for some reason we are unable to service the customer never pays us anything. And I think that's very key, that we are trying to make it easy for the customer. We're not trying to create roadblocks for them by adding fees or by asking them to do more. So our platform, main idea is you make one application, you provide your documents once, and now we do all the hard work in terms of finding the right funding provider for you.
One of the things that people, let's say small business around the world, especially in the UK, is that they are struggling to understand the complexity of the red tape. And as well, even right now, for instance, I think with COVID-19 has been a nightmare because a lot of banks they don't even have a person that you can call, or at least that you can follow up. So it's kind of freeze. I remember that I was trying to open an account and they had money and everything else, and there was no one that could actually follow up on that. And even me that I have. So how do you see this part as well of the follow up? So let's say for people that are struggling just to understand, I know that you automated everything, but one of the things I feel more and more is that the consultancy around teaching people how to do this is key. Because even if they do it all automated, they need to feel confident. They need to understand your brand. They need to know who is Anuj, your team, and people like that. So that's a very important thing to make the project more solid, but as well to understand, because for instance, I think the success of, you mentioned Funding Circle, that is actually a big success in the UK. It was precisely this automation, but as well a lot of marketing and as well people understanding that the platform had credibility. So how do you see these things from an education perspective, from even getting to the people, like explain that? So can you tell us some of these highlights that you've been doing as well through the experience of being the platform, but as well through the network that you've been creating?
We've tried to make it as easy as possible, where the customer doesn't need to be an expert in finance to actually apply for a loan. And we start with the 3-step process, very easy, as in we want to know how much the customer wants to borrow, for what purpose, whether it's for cash flow, whether it's for expansion, whether it's to finance an invoice, whether it's for construction, it's for real estate, and then for how long. So we start with these basic 3 questions from a customer to find out how much they want to borrow. And we do a lot of the assessment for the customer. So if you apply for a loan through all these alternative finance providers or banks, they have different risk criteria. So a lot of them want to know whether the customer is a homeowner, because can the loan be secured against a home? Then some of them have a criteria that the company needs to have a minimum revenue requirement. So like we have lenders who have requirements up to saying, oh, the company needs to have minimum revenue requirement of £5 million, only then they assess them because they do the higher loans. But then we have companies who say, okay, anybody who's above 100,000, we're happy to work with them. And then we have companies who say that these are banks and lenders. We say, we don't care what your revenue is. We are maybe doing a cash flow loan, or we're doing invoice finance for you. So we're just interested in that particular invoice and that current scenario. And then there are many other things like the credit standing of the directors of the company. And then in terms of, if they're applying for a certain loan, which is the government backed, for example, the CBILS, the coronavirus business loan in the UK, then they have to answer some preset questionnaires, etc. So what we're trying to do is that we don't want to spend too much time going and explaining to CFOs or to business owners saying, oh, it's very complicated to get the business loan. What we're trying to do is we try to get the most basic information from our customers. And then before the loan application is made, we are assessing and shortlisting out of the 300 banks or 500 lenders in the market, which are the 3 or the 4 most likely banks or lenders who will provide a loan to this customer. And then we narrow it down to only that list, and that's what we present to a customer. A customer goes through a transparent process. They can select one or multiple lenders and apply. So I think where we are focusing on is to make it easy. We can educate customers on more on terms of finance, what's required for loans, etc. But the thing is that every bank has a different requirement. Every alternative online lender has a different requirement. And it is a very complicated process for us to go and say that, okay, if you're applying for XYZ bank, then you need to be a homeowner. If you're applying for another bank, then your revenue needs to be higher. If you're applying for an alternative lender, XYZ, he wants your company to be profitable. So they have so many different criteria, risk assessment criteria, that it's almost impossible for anybody to come and go and be educating companies that you need to know all this. Whereas what we have done is we have taken all this information and fed it into a platform. So when the customer is applying for a loan or is trying to access funding, they don't need to be aware of how all the mechanics in the banking industry work. They just need to give us the basic information. We will do all the funneling all the shortlisting and finding and this is all done within seconds on a platform. And we are always available, our sales and account manager people, we are always available to speak to the customer and help.
So from your experience, having worked with first of all, having regulated your platform, what would be the highlights that you say for startups listening to us? And as well, let's start first of all, you are regulated. So can you give a context of the license that you have in the platform, the FCA license? Because I think it's important for people listening to us how it works, and as well a bit of the background about the funding and the loans that exist in the UK, in particular where you are based.
Sure. So CashKind is regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK. So we have a credit brokering license. But in terms of our global plans, when we go into different countries, in some countries, business lending or brokering or business loans is regulated. In some countries, it's not. Now, in terms of the UK, the UK market, we would say probably 180 billion pounds worth of loans are sanctioned to SMEs every year. But this year, because of COVID-19, it's been a particularly challenging year for small to medium-sized businesses. So a lot of focus has been going on government-backed loan schemes. So in terms of the UK market, there is a very easy loan available, which is available up to £50,000. It's called the bounce back loan. Now, this is something which a company can directly apply and get it. They don't need to come to our platform. They can go to a bank. It's a simple one-page form. They fill in a few questions, declare what their revenue is, and just give their company names and details. And there is quite a quick assessment and disbursement of that loan. It normally takes 3 days or, worst case, 1 week to get the loan. The second loan, which is available in the UK market for COVID-19, is called the C-bills. It's called the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan. That's something which our company can help our customers with in applying to different lenders and getting it. So this loan is particularly for companies with higher revenues. So any company which is requiring a loan above £50,000 all the way up to 5 million, they can avail of the C-bills loan. If a small to medium-sized enterprise, they're applying for a loan up to 250,000. There's no personal guarantee required. What I mean is a director doesn't need to sign any additional document saying that if he or she is unable to pay this loan, that they're personally liable to pay it. So that doesn't happen with this particular category of loan, C-bills loan. It's a generous loan from the government. The loan has to be paid back, but it has to be paid back by the company rather than the director. And with this particular loan, there is 12 months of no repayments, the first 12 months, no interest. So there's enough time for the business to use the funds and to get a head start. And then after that, it's a 5-year loan. The interest rate varies for different banks. So, there are banks who are offering it at as low as 5 or 6% or even lower. Some are offering it at 8% or 10%. Now, companies who require loans more than 250,000, they can access it as well. But the amount above 250,000 needs to be secured by the director or through offering of a certain guarantee. So the bounce back loan and the coronavirus business interruption loan combined between March and I would say beginning of October, close to 61 billion pounds worth of loans have already been disbursed. So that's the most common loan in the market. Now, apart from that, the larger corporates, they are looking for long-term loans. These are with debt funds. This could be like, anywhere between 10 million to, 500 million. These are more the play of private equity companies and debt funds. So there again, we can help in certain areas in terms of arranging loans. But I think the most common SME loans are like cash flow loans. A small business requires access to 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 pounds on demand. So we have lenders who specialize in that. Then we have companies who specialize in invoice financing. If you're receiving payments regularly from a particular customer, then you can always get forward payments for those invoices. And then there are a lot of specialist financial companies in the market. I can name a few. So like we work with a company called Penny Freedom, BB Financial, Market Finance. They were previously called Market Invoice. And then there are lots of other companies who can offer those kind of loans. There's construction finance if you're in the real estate business and you require funds for construction. Then there is asset finance if you want funds for purchasing assets. And there are various kinds of different types of subcategories of business loans which are available in the market, and we can help in, let's say, arranging those loans for our customers.
Yeah, great explanation. Thank you so much, because I think this is quite useful. So just one question. So in terms of, let's say, for startup CEOs and for SMEs listening to us, and I'm sure, of course, we have different kind of audience, but right. I think what would be the advice you give to these people from your experience? I think this is particularly important, because I think everyone is becoming a startup themselves. So they all need to know how to deal with cash flow and all these different things.
Okay, so I think on a high level, I will say that please don't depend alone on equity investments, because a lot of the startups, when they start a business, and I'm especially talking about the tech startups in that case, they are quite dependent that they will get investment through a venture capital fund or an angel or something. Now, this could be a very long sales process. I would say, a negotiation process. Whereas if you're a real business generating revenues with customers, then you might need some instant access to loans. So it could start with getting an overdraft with your bank as a starting point. Then you can additionally look at topping that facility up, because most banks don't really offer a generous overdraft. So, you can look at other requirements. They could be on-demand cash flow. So you could have a facility which you don't use. It could be up to £50,000 or 30, whatever the amount. It depends on the size of your business, and you don't pay your interest on using that facility till you actually use it. So it's just available, and you only use it when you need to use it. And then you can get some of these government-backed loans. So if you're not really already aware of these loans, then we are happy to help you in the UK. But if you're based outside the UK, I'm sure you can research. There are different sort of government and trade finance kind of funding which is available to the user, so you could explore their options. And then if you're based in the UK, my advice is that you come to our site, come to us, and we'll help you. So you don't need to really worry about it. But I would say generally explore all the options of funding which are available. Don't depend too much on equity funding in the short-term scenario. If you're more from a 3 to 5 year perspective, equity funding is good because you're looking at growth roadmap. But if you need the finance this month, next month, or the next 6 months, it's much easier and faster to get some debt, some corporate business loans rather than going for equity funding. And I just want to also add, as in this is if you're considering crowdfunding used to be much easier and work faster in the past. But right now, if you're going for crowdfunding, you need to have at least 50 to 60% of funds already pre-committed through angel investors or VCs before you go to crowdfund. So some of the companies who are having successful crowdfunding campaigns, they are also the large financial technology companies which have already set up, and they've gone for their Series C or D crowdfunding. And the advantage they have is they have an established brand on the web. So they have a lot of customers. So when they do a crowdfunding campaign, a lot of people already know them and they're successful. But for a small to medium-sized business to start crowdfunding, it's not as easy as it was before. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
No, very, very good advice, and I think great for everyone listening to us. We're going to be following up, and I think there's a lot of insights here, especially when it comes to the importance of learning how to use these financial empowerment tools, and a platform like yours is key for that, for both CEOs, but as well any companies that are looking for expanding and even upgrading their business. So I want to thank you, Anuj. I don't know if there's any things you want to talk, just where to find you, any other information. We'll put all the links about cashkind.com, but any other things you want to highlight before we wrap up the interview?
No, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank you again for having me on the interview. And thanks to all the online community that is listening to this interview and is able to reach the end. But what I want to say is that apart from visiting our website, you're always welcome to contact us. You can send us a message on LinkedIn or through our website, send us a message. We have a no obligation discussion with any company who wants to just discuss their options. So, we're open to educating the community. We're open to answering all the questions and letting you know what are the options that are available to you. So please do visit our site and look forward to working with you.
Thank you so much, Anuj. It's been a pleasure, and I think a lot of knowledge for everyone that is in business. I think everyone around the world needs to be knowledge about these things.
Okay. Thank you very much, Denise. Thanks very much.
Thank you.